Our topic today is about characteristic of culture. Culture is the way of human thinking, behavior, art, knowledge, experience, custom, moral, and system. Cultures are widespread and have a large number of people or individuals who associate themselves with those particular values, beliefs, and origins, which is passed down or imitation from generation to generation and have a value that can't sized by anything. And there are characteristic of culture.
The first character is culture is learned. The ease with which children absorb any cultural tradition rests on the uniquely elaborate human capacity to learn. Cultural learning depends on the uniquely developed human capacity to use symbols, signs that have no necessary or natural connection to the things they signify or for which they stand. People gradually internalize a previously established system of meanings and symbols. They use this cultural system to define their world, express their feelings, and make their judgments. This system helps guide their behavior and perceptions throughout their lives. Culture is taught directly as when parents tell their children to say thank you when someone gives them something or does them a favor. According to anthropologists, cultural learning is uniquely elaborate among humans and that all humans have culture. All human populations have equivalent capacities for culture. Regardless of their genes or their physical appearance, people can learn any cultural tradition.
The second characteristic of culture is shared. Culture is shared by members of a group. One individual's actions are not considered a culture. Shared characteristic of culture: one person's thoughts and actions do not constitute a culture. Culture consists of shared understanding and practices. One person may have an elaborate daily routine that is followed every day, but that individual habit is not a culture. It may include elements that are influenced by the individual's cultural experiences. The sharing of culture can be thought of similarly to sharing a dish from an epidemiological perspective. As a cultural element is shared from person to person, it might be viewed as more people adopt. This can be seen in the example of slang expression or pop culture memes going viral. Culture is shared because we share culture with other members of our group. We are able to act in socially approach ways as well as predict how others will act. Despite the shared nature of culture, that doesn't mean that culture is homogeneous or the same.
The third is about symbols of culture. A symbol is an object, word, or action that represents a concept. Culture is all of the behaviors, language, beliefs, traditions, and its shared meaning that guide the standards of a group. Together, a cultural symbol is a symbol that holds meaning and understanding for a group. Many groups use symbols to express a concept of their culture. Symbols are very important for cultures because they help a group create the culture itself. The most common culture symbols is language. For example, the letter of an alphabet symbolizes the sound of a specific spoken language. Language is the most often used form of symbolism. Some examples of symbol culture are color, music, marks, graphic design, and so on. Symbolic culture is very different from cultural symbols. Remember that a cultural symbol is an object, word, or action that represents a concept. Symbolic culture can be defined as an experience that signifies a culture. It is more about what cannot be touched in a culture and the thing that the people of a group or culture attach a meaning to in order to communicate with one another. Examples of symbolic culture are mythical creature, good and evil, or heaven and hell.
Cultural integrated. Cultural integrated is when individuals from one culture adopt practice from another culture without diminishing their own. This is known as holism, or the various parts of a culture being interconnected. All aspects of a culture are related to one another, and to thoroughly understand a culture, one must learn about all of its parts, not only a few. A next example of culture integrated. People generally value the culture in which they are raised and view the elements of that culture as comfort. When somebody moves to an area with a different culture, it's natural for them to introduce the characteristics they find comforting. And then, three examples of culture integrate. Number one, there are many different types of restaurant choice in the United States that did not originate there. Number two, Chinese immigrants brought Chinese food and other. Number three, the original religious beliefs in the United States were animistic. That belief that natural objects such as trees contain souls, but not every type of religious belief, not matter the culture of origin, is practiced.
The fifth character is dynamic. Culture is dynamic and thus complex. Culture is fluid rather than static, which means that culture changes all the time, every day, in subtle and tangible ways. Because humans communicate and express their culture systems in a variety of ways, it can be hard to pinpoint exactly what cultural dynamics are at play. Consider, for example, a conversation about a person's attitude or feelings. In this type of conversation, Albert Merharbian, 1971, found that people pay attention to the words or what is being said, the tone or how the words are said, and the visual behind the words, often called the body language. All of these are aspects of culture that are interpreted differently depending on the cultural context. Add multiple layers of culture to the conversation, such as time, power and authority, emotion, age, gender, religion, nationality, and even previous intercultural interactions, and communication at a cross-cultural level becomes complex and hard to manage.
There are examples of characteristic culture in social life. First, we need a food and shelter. Second, consuming instant food. Third, eat with a spoon or chopsticks is a form of culture because it uses technology, which is the creation of the human mind. Fourth, attend the traditional event in our region or our area. The fifth, someone who is considered an adult is married. Six, children learn how to speak from the people around them at home, like their family, and then wear traditional clothes in traditional ceremonies. And students in school must allow the rules. And then go to worship according to the respective religious worship schedule. Like as a Christian, usually go to church for worship every Sunday. And next, provide assistance to people in need or help each other. And the last one is using phone for communication and search information.